Good afternoon. I'm Kay Williams. I'm a lead program manager in the Outlook team. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to have you all. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to have you all here. This is one of the larger groups, the largest that I personally have had a chance to talk with about the enhancements that we've done in our upcoming release of Outlook, which is Outlook 10. So it's Outlook 10, and Outlook 10 is scheduled to release with Office 10, which is coming middle of next year. It's the rough time frame for it. You'll all get a chance to use it much sooner than that. Any of you who haven't used the Beta 1, the Beta 2 release is coming out in October, and it will be our ITG department is going to deploy it to people who are interested. Okay, so we're going to talk about Outlook 10. One of the things that I'd like you to do, so I'm here telling you about the product, Outlook 10, and there are a whole bunch of folks back in Redmond that didn't get the chance to come who wish that they could have, because they also like to get feedback about how folks like the features that we've done. So something that you can do that would help me is to be either vocal or make some noise when you see things that you like. Feel free to clap if there's something that I talk about or that I show that feels to you like that meets a need of one of your big customers or something that you're interested in. And then I can for sure go back and tell folks in Redmond what things were the best of all the features that we added. Okay, so Outlook 10 includes a number of enhancements. We did a bunch of work in account management. We did some new email features and some new calendaring features, and I'll go through all of those in detail. We also did some work in security, which some of you are probably aware of. We started that with the patch, the security patch for Outlook 98 and Outlook 2000, and we're doing that work plus some additional improvements, in a good way, improvements in Outlook 10. And we have a bunch of integration with Exchange 2000. So the combination of Outlook 10 plus Exchange 2000 is has some real tangible benefits for basic users as well as for administrators. And because of some of the account management work we've done, we get much easier deployment. So the one thing that I definitely want you to come away with from this session is that Outlook 10 is a very customer-focused release. We have, and I'll talk about these as we go through it, we have done a number of enhancements where we've directly addressed either top customer wishes or top support calls. And in fact, as we go through the list of the features, almost every one of the features that we did fall into one of those two categories. So let's start off and talk about account management. So one of the top, in fact, the top support requests that our PSS folks here. Is anyone here from product support? Anyone? A few. Okay, so maybe you'll all nod with me about this one. One of the top requests calls that we get is how do I set up how do I configure my email account? That's often around POP accounts or internet accounts, but it's just generally that's a hard thing for customers to sort out. So one of the things that we've done in this area is we've eliminated modes, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And we've also simplified the account configuration UI. It used to be, especially the MAPI profile creation, used to be very focused around things called services. But users didn't think in terms of services. They thought in terms of I need an email account or I need an address book. So we've taken the UI and put it into terms that are more customer friendly. We've added Hotmail support, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. So you can open and read and manage your Hotmail email inside of Outlook along with your corporate email. And then we've done a host of work in the area of improving administration. Okay, so when a customer installed Outlook, and they clicked on the icon, first thing they used to get to was this dialog that would ask them, are you an internet user or a corporate work group user? And many customers flunked that question, which wasn't their fault, of course. And the consequences of getting into the wrong mode meant that they wouldn't get some features that they expected and needed, or they wouldn't be able to sign up for Exchange if it was Exchange that they needed. So we've gotten rid of that. I should have the big red circle with the X through it. Customers don't have to decide that up front. And in fact, some of the features that were specific to one mode or the other are baked into this new unified mode. So you get great performance for POP without being in a special internet mode. You get IMAP support. You get the ability to send using multiple accounts, to choose between the account that you want to use. And we always send iCal, which is the internet standard format for calendaring, if you're sending to an internet user. Where we didn't used to do that. So just all the goodness of the internet mode, the way to think of it is all the goodness of internet mode has been baked into a unified mode. Okay, so let's talk about account administration. The key point to get across here is that the way that this should work and can work is that users should be able to see an Outlook icon on their desktop, click on it. Actually, think of it this way. The scenario is a new user at Microsoft comes in, boots up their computer, clicks on the Outlook icon. They don't know anything about what their username is or what their email server is, but they just click on the Outlook icon and they're up and they're running. And that's the way that it can be with the modifications that we've made in Outlook 2000. So somebody likes that. Good, good. Okay, so a few things that I'll kind of walk you through how that works, but a couple of just quick detailed things. There used to be a couple of tools for creating the user profiles, NewProf and ModProf. And those are not necessary anymore. All of the account configuration can be done using the custom installation wizard, which is part of the Office deployment tools. And in that custom installation wizard, there is administrative control over things like configuring the account. So you can, I wish that I had brought in screenshots of this, so I'll have to describe it to you. You can choose to create new accounts or to create accounts for new users so that a new user signs on and they get all of the information pushed down to them. You can choose to, and from that same screen, you can choose to have information pushed down to existing users. So what that allows me to do is, let's say, for example, that I wanted to move all of my users, whether they're existing users or brand new users, to Exchange 2000 using HTTP DAV protocol. I can check one button in the custom installation wizard, and then when the next time any of those users log into Outlook, they'll get those settings. Outlook will run through what's called its first run routine, and it will recognize that setting, and the user will adopt it. So it's a very simple way for admins to make any changes globally for all users and push it out, and everybody will be brought up to the same level. Okay, so they can add new services, they can remove services. So if, let's say, for example, that there's a company that maybe is migrating from CC Mail to Exchange, and they're using Outlook as the client for both. Using the custom installation wizard, you can choose to remove CC Mail from the profile, and again, when that gets deployed, and next time it goes to the user's desktop, CC Mail will be out, Exchange will be moved in. Other examples similar to that is, let's say that an account might have set up so that they were using the customer's mail was being delivered to a local PST. Now maybe they want to move everybody to reading their mail and storing it on the Exchange server instead. Again, they can say don't deliver it locally anymore, deploy that, and everybody's mail will start moving up to the server. Okay, so then the last piece that I'll cover on that is the administrators can control the migration of the OST, which is our old offline store format, to the local web store, and I'll talk more about the local web store later. They can also control migration from PSTs, to the local web store, and also from the PAB format, which is the old Outlook address book format, to the format that we support currently. So they can specify that either the migration should be done or should not be done, and that will happen as the user runs Outlook for the first time. Okay, somebody had a question, I think. Do you want to go ahead?
I actually wanted to ask you a question about, you said that the admin could change deliver to local PST.
Yeah.
That can be pushed out from a corporate environment where the admin can say nobody can now use PST for local delivery, and they have to use it on the server?
That's correct. The admins can't control that.
Okay. That's actually something I've been asked for.
Have you? Yeah, yeah. I know that they can control. They can specify that it has to be moved from a local PST to the server. What I'm not 100% sure of, and I could check this and get back to you if you wanted to give me your card afterward, is whether they can prohibit the user from later on going and, and setting it back again. Okay. Well, let me show you a demo of creating and using accounts. So here I am with Outlook 10. And because I want you to see what the new account configuration dialog is, I'm going to force us to create a new one. This dialog that we're seeing right now is what is called our first run dialog. So this is what the user's new first run experience booting Outlook would be if their admin hadn't already pushed these settings down to them. So what they get is this simple choice between adding a new email account or adding a directory. And let's just choose the default, which is to add a new email account. And then here are all my choices of servers that I can run Outlook against right from the beginning. So again, POP is here, IMAP is here. HTTP is the one that you could choose to set up Hotmail, and we'll come back and do that later. And then we also continue to support the additional server types like CCmail, or even we can run against nodes and other server types. Okay, let's do Exchange. So I'll type in my server name. Okay, and that's all that I needed. Now I'm set up with my Exchange account. So my new profile is there. Let's try it out. The one I just created was this. And here's Outlook 10. Here's your first look ever at Outlook 10. Is it your first look ever? How many of you have seen any of the Office 10 product before? A sprinkling of you had. So here's Outlook 10. Now this is just with the basic Exchange account, but I mentioned to you earlier that that Outlook 10 now supports Hotmail. So let's add Hotmail into this. So to set it, I go to Tools, Email Accounts. This used to be Tools, Services, and that was another one of those things that customers didn't think about. If they needed to change their account, Services wasn't what they imagined they should be doing. So I go here. Already selected for me is View or Change Existing Accounts. I can choose that. I can add. Now, I don't have connectivity to the internet because I'm in this demo scenario, so we won't actually be able to see receiving the mail. But I can show you what it looks like in Outlook after you get it set up. And even though I don't have internet connectivity, we can deal with Hotmail in an offline mode because Outlook supports offline. So once I set up a Hotmail account, then Hotmail shows up as another item in the folder list, separate from my regular corporate mail. And we also add an item to the Outlook bar for it. So let's try sending a piece of new mail. Once I have more than one account set up, I have an option from the toolbar to select which account I want to use to send the mail. And where Outlook is smart about defaulting to the right. Somebody likes that, huh? Okay, good. Good. We're smart about defaulting to the account that it was sent from. So if you're reading mail messages on your Hotmail account and you reply, we just send them out using Hotmail. But you might want to choose something different when you're sending a piece of mail initially. So I could say Hotmail there. I could compose a message and I could send it out. I'm going to skip all of that for now. There's one more thing that I want to show you. I mentioned that one of the things that happened when you were in internet mode is if you sent mail, like a meeting request, to an internet user, we would automatically send that in iCal format, which means that if the user on the other side were using Outlook, they would receive it as an internet, as a meeting request item. So we've set it up now so that Outlook will always do that. Anytime you send, say, a meeting request to someone with an SMTP address, we'll send it in iCal format. But we do give the user control over that. So if I had someone that I didn't want to we do that automatically for the user, and that's what this option is. Let Outlook decide the best sending format. But if I wanted to specify another format, I could control that from this dialog as well. Okay, so that's some of the changes that we've made in accounts. Question here?
In terms of being able to view Hotmail account,
yes.
How does it actually treat the mail? Is it pop-like or is it IMAP as far as is it taken from the server and downloaded to the client, or is it keep it on the server as far as being able to go to another web browser and view in that same mail?
It caches it locally, but it doesn't take it from the server. So you'll have any message that you've read, because we use the local store as our cache, and I'll tell you all more about that later, but because we do, we cache it locally. So if you're offline, you can see anything that you've read before. And when you go on, we'll connect up to the server and you can see new things. It's the best of both worlds. Okay, another question. Let's see.
You still have an untitled message there, and it has a Word icon on it. Is that by default?
I'm going to talk about word mail in a minute, so hang on to that question. We'll come back to it. Yes?
Are you going to talk about the form designer?
I'm not going to talk about the forms designer. There's another session. Zeke Koch is doing one. In fact, it's right after this one up in room 11 that talks about the Office Designer, which is our forms design environment going forward. Yes? Yeah, but I have to stop you. This is Brad back in the corner back here that's talking right now. Everybody say hi to Brad. I met him just before this session, and now he's wishing that we hadn't met. Yes?
Okay, the account dialogue is pretty cool, but think about a guy, a help desk guy, taking that from his desk in a service call. You have to run through that 3 times to set up 3 different accounts. So you can turn it into a multi-check box, so you can do it all at once.
Okay, so when I ran through it the first time, that's the first run behavior. So you choose one and then we accept that and then take you out of it. When you go into it from the tools dialog, you can add multiple at the same time. So does that make sense? So the first time through, we just choose one and go, because the most common user experience is that they just have one account. But if you go to it from the dialog, you can add as many as you like. Okay? All right, I'm going to keep going. We will have, I promise we'll leave time for questions at the end too, so if I don't catch you as we go along now, hang on to your questions. Okay, so email. Let's talk about some of the enhancements here. One of the areas that we did some work is in WordMail. Somebody asked about that a second ago. WordMail has been a mixed bag in the past. It gives, users get more formatting choices with WordMail, but there are a bunch of downsides. There's scalability for the server. There's, well, actually the best way to say it is really just data passed along the wire. RTF messages created by WordMail are bigger, and HTML messages created by WordMail are bigger because we put lots of extra special, used to put lots of extra special goop inside of there so that it could round trip it with full fidelity. Reliability was worse. Product crashed more when WordMail was turned on. And I guess those are the, oh, and performance was worse. So those were some big downsides to Word. There are some benefits to using Word. In fact, we've heard from a number of customers that Word as an editor is a nice thing because it means that they don't have to train, like, there's a training issue for our customers. They don't have to, if they can use Word for the formatting and text creation, they don't have to train their users on 2 different editing environments. They train once and it works in both places. So that's an upside of it. Anyway, I'll show you some of the enhancements in WordMail, but specifically I want to note that Word has done some work so that it doesn't send extra goop in the data that it sends across the wire, stuff that isn't necessary. It just gets stripped out before it gets sent. They've done a ton of work on the architecture so that the 2 applications can communicate without being quite as tightly bound, and it means if one crashes, it doesn't bring the other one down. And in fact, we should crash less. Oh, here, more applause. And then they've also done a bunch of work, both the Word team and the Outlook team together have done a bunch of work to make the performance better.
Here's an actual question. It's got a Word icon now. Is that
Yes.
because you're using WordMail, or is that because of something else?
I am using WordMail. That's why it's on. That is why it's on. And it is on, and WordMail will be the default in our next release. So to answer both of those questions, why don't I, you can't, I can see what I should be showing you in this slide presentation, but you can't see it. How about I remedy that? Hey, it just occurred to me when you pointed to the screen again. Okay, so other mail-oriented enhancements. We now have instant messenger integration in 2 places in Outlook. One is in the contacts module. So in the contact form, I can type in someone's instant messaging address. And we share that information with the instant messaging client. So if I type it in there, it gets used in the IM client as well. Oh, good, yes. And the other place that we have IM integration is in the read note. So if I receive an email message, there's the little tooltip that comes up in Outlook, the yellow, I forget what we call that. There's a little yellow tip at the, my battery may be dead. Hang on a second, I'm going to switch to the other mic. AV guys? This one sounds like, can you hear me? Wow, I've never had to switch microphones in the middle of a presentation before. Another new thing. But they warned me beforehand the battery might go out on that. Okay, anyway, so as I was saying, in the read notes, when I get a message from someone, it shows me right in the top in one of those little yellow information boxes, info boxes, I think we call them, that what the presence of that person is. So if they're online, there's a little tooltip at the top that says that person is online, and I can click it and immediately start up an IM session with them. It's actually very, very cool, and I wish that I could show it to you today. But because I don't have it connectivity, I don't have that working. Okay, another one is autocomplete, and I will show you that, so I won't spend a bunch of time describing it. We did some enhancements to the Find feature, and I'll show you those also. We added a cancel button to the Exchange server not found, and I'll show you that too, because even though you might clap now, it's even better when you see it. And then the last one that we've done is, you know how you get those plain text email messages where you get a long line and then a really short one and then a long line and a really short one? Well, we recognize those and we auto-format them. So we remove all those extra paragraphs. Yeah. I thought you'd like that also. The trick to that is that sometimes we can remove too many, but it's not so bad because we've made it very clear when we do it. Again, there's a little tooltip at the top that says we've removed paragraphs, and you can just click on that and set it back if it's not what you want. So we give you a good feature, but control to undo it if it's not right. So let's look at some of these. We wanted to see WordMail. Well, yes. Thank you. Now you can see it. So let's have a look at this by looking at a message that I partially created earlier. So Word's coming to life here, and here's a message that I've created in WordMail. So you can see a couple of things about this. One is that Word has done its typical little, converted my smiley face into a symbol, and it's put in some bullets like Word always wants to do. And then I did use some formatting a little bit of formatting inside of this message. One of the improvements that I didn't tell you about WordMail, but I'll show you now, is that in WordMail you can now switch the format of the message on the fly. So this is a message I'm sending to someone who has a Hotmail account. Well, since I know that Hotmail supports plain text, I think what I'll do is just switch this to plain text. And and it switched to plain text right there before your very eyes. Like the little smiley face went back to the basic plain text thing, and the bullets got taken back out, and there's just regular bullets there. Another nice thing is that I can see what gets lost. So this, where I was trying to add some special emphasis, that completely got lost because the way I had done it with coloring and bold isn't supported in plain text. So now I can go back and fix that up. Word is Word is smart when it's in plain text mode, so that it doesn't let me go add formatting that doesn't work. In addition to taking it off, it won't let me add new things. So a bunch of things actually get disabled in the toolbars and the menus. And Word's auto-correct behavior gets fixed up, so it won't try to put in new bullets. It knows which are the right things for plain text. So Word is great for editing, whether you're using RTF or HTML, or whether you're just doing plain text messages. And you can set it up so that WordMail is your default editor and plain text is your default mail format too, which is another thing that will be interesting for those corporations that are concerned about how much data gets sent across the wire. Okay, let's look at a couple of enhancements that the Word team has made. These are general to Word, but you get to take advantage of them for email messages also. So I'm not sure how well you can see it on the screen, but under some of the words here, there are little purple dotted underlines. And when I hover over words that have dotted purple underlines, a little info box comes up. This is called a smart tag. And Word does some parsing in the background of text, and it automatically recognizes certain types of text and gives me options that are relevant to the type of text that it is. So tonight is a date or a form of a date. I could put in either tonight, or I could put in a specific. Here, let's try this. 9/7. Go away from that. Oh, for some reason it's not doing it right now. But it typically will recognize that format also as a date. And when it recognizes it, and I hover over this smart tag and click, I get a set of options that are relevant to that type of information. I could schedule a meeting, show my calendar. Let's try it. That's the best way to see. So I choose that, and blinking down here below me is the Outlook calendar. So for any type of date, it will give me the option to quickly bring up my calendar. That's one of the things that I can do with these things called smart tags. Another one is, so here's another one. This one is Cousin Joe, and Word has recognized that as a name. Here we go. With names, I get a different set of choices. So for a person, I can open the contact. I can send mail to them, schedule a meeting, add them to my contacts. So let's do one of these, since what I'm suggesting here is that we could, I want to give a call to this person. I can click this. I can open the contact. And then I have their information handy, so I could make a call right away. Question? Right. So, you know, I don't know all the specifics of this. I know that it I'm sorry. So the question was, I'll paraphrase it, which is, I'm showing this in English, and it's working beautifully in English, but what about for other languages? So if someone's typing in a language other than English, does it work? Or can it be extended so that it can work? Right, so tonight is an English word. Okay, so the answer is, this is supported in English and I believe French and German. The recognition of the text comes from our spelling and grammar tools. So in fact, it may be supported in any of the languages that we have grammar tools for. But I don't know all the details of that. There's some folks in the Word team that know that, and I'm sorry, I don't have all the details. Yeah? No, the features that I'm showing you here in WordMail are Word features. So they come along with setting WordMail up as your default editor. Another question? You'd get the spelling error because that would be the first thing because the grammar recognizer couldn't recognize it as the right thing if it's not spelled correctly. So you'd get the spelling error, and then when you corrected that, then it would, right. Okay, go on. Okay, so I showed you WordMail and some of the enhancements there. Let me show you autocomplete. Actually, why don't we just start with a new message? So one of the very common things that we all do is send mail. And it's quite common to send mail to people that you've sent mail to before. Now, Outlook is smarter about recognizing people that you've sent mail to and making it easier for you to repeat that action. So for example, someone that I've sent mail to is to my mom. So I typed 3 characters there, C-O-N, and it automatically completed the rest of that. And to accept the suggestion, I just press enter. Okay? That feature is something that's in OE right now and in some of the other email clients. So we couldn't just stop at that. We had to do one better. So here's the one better, which is that if I've sent mail to people, multiple people that have similar names, like let's try this, it does an auto-suggest of those. So I can see the complete list of people whose names start with whatever I'm typing. And I can press enter to accept whichever one is at the top, or I can keep typing, and as soon as we get an exact match, then we'll do the auto-suggest again. Okay, one other feature related to this. Yes? It keeps track of people you've sent mail to previously. We looked at using the gal. We also looked at just automatically sucking in all of the names, all of the email addresses from your contacts list. And both of those had some performance implications. We didn't want to, just as you're typing the name in, go hit against the gal to find duplicate matches. So what we do is we just cache it. And as you've sent mail before, it gets added to the cache. Question back here? Right. I know we talked about this. I don't remember. That's a very good question, and you're right. And we had talked about a way that let you clear out items from the cache. The cache is a file on disk, so you could open up the file and go remove it, but that's, most users wouldn't figure that out. I think there's a way, I don't remember what it is right now, and the one that would be obvious to me, which is to just try to select it and delete it, doesn't seem to be working. So I can't answer that, but I'll take that feedback back. Okay, now, one other thing that I want to show you is You might recall that in current Outlook, when you add email names for a contact, when I type the name in, and then if I put it in the address bar later, it automatically displays it as something goofy like Connie Brower and in parens email 1. And then if I have a second email address, it would be Connie Brower parens email 2, which is not very useful. It's hard, for you as you're trying to type in someone's address, you can't tell, you don't know which one is email 1 and which one is email 2. So what we've done is we've allowed users, we've added a new field called display as, where users can type in how they want it to display in the address line. So this one right now I have set to this, and by default, oh, somebody's clapping. Good. By default, we put in the full name from the contact, and then we put in parens behind it the SMTP address. But this is fully editable, so I could type in something else. And this is also interesting for, it was a big request from our Far East customers, because they'll have names like honorable or teacher, that kind of thing, where you want to put in a prefix or suffix depending on the person's relationship to you. So this allows you to do that. Okay, so I've done that. Let's save it.
Is that on a per email address?
It is on a per email address basis. Yeah, let's bring that back up. And so there's one that I sent for that, and this one here. So if I had someone who had like a home email and a business email, I could, if I wanted to distinguish it in here, I could type home or something else. But the point is, yes, it is on a per email address basis. Okay, and then the last thing how this relates back to the autocomplete feature that I was showing you is we check both the email address and the display name for auto-completing. So I can now type in either the beginning of the email address, and it will give me the auto-suggest for it, and I could accept it. Or I can type in the display name, and it will choose that as well. Last thing I want to show you while I'm here this time.
Hello?
Hello? Yes?
You have the wrong number.
Did you get how did you figure I called that guy? Okay. So the last thing that I'll show you while I'm here is the enhancements to the Find feature. So a very common activity while you're working with email is to go searching for email that you've received previously. So we've had a Find feature in the past, of course. What we've done this time are a couple of small things that make it lighter weight and easier to use. The first thing you might notice there is when I chose Find, here I'll do it again because it's subtle. A small line shows up just at the very top of my box. It's small because you might actually find that you want to leave it up all the time if you're the kind of person who's finding messages a lot. It lets me type in the text that I want to look for. So let's try something that's here. And then I can press enter or press search to find it. Also from this Find strip, you can easily expand your scope. So by default, we search in the folder that you're looking in. But if you wanted to look through all of your mail folders, you could choose that. Or you could look through mail you sent or mail you received. So let's look in all folders. And then, yes? I believe no, it doesn't include your PST. So it includes for the the top level tree that you're in, it'll look through that, but it doesn't go beyond that. But that's an obvious next thing that you would want, especially for like you have an archive PST and you want to quickly look through your archive. Okay, so then the last enhancement here is how many of you have noticed that with the current Find feature, once you choose Find, you might end up waiting for sometimes a very long while. and you're hung while you're waiting. So it's not asynchronous, it's a synchronous process. Well, now it is asynchronous. So I picked something that there was only one of, and it was fast, so I couldn't give you a good demo that time. But we've made it asynchronous so that at any time if the item you want appears, then you can open it, and it'll open right away, and it will keep searching in the background looking for more things, but you're not hung up while it's doing that. You can also cancel it. So if you've done all the searching you want to do, you just press the cancel button and you're on your way. And then to get rid of the found items show up right in your view here, so that's handy. And to get rid of those, it's clear to get back out. Okay. Yes, question? Cross-public folder searching, yes, it is possible. Let's see if I get this right. I think that this public folders have to be on Platinum servers, and that is exposed from the advanced find dialog, not from the find strip. Okay, back for a few more slides. Now, calendaring. So we've got through accounts, we've got through email. Let's talk about calendaring. Another one of the big areas. We get lots of customer requests in calendaring, and especially wishes. There are a couple of competitors that have features, and especially they're competitors that our customers tend to be migrating away from when they're choosing Exchange, that have features that those customers really miss. And some of those features are calendar coloring. That's been a huge, huge request from certain accounts. Disney is one that really wanted this, and I don't remember the other names. And then group scheduling feature and proposed new time features are features of the new Notes R5 client. So to stay competitive with those, we added all those features. We also have better support for cross-organization calendaring, and what I really mean there is the ability to share your free busy information. So we had an Internet Free Busy feature in Outlook 2000, which worked okay if you had your own FTP or HTTP server that you could publish your free busy to. In Outlook 10, we actually provide a location for you to publish your free busy information to, and we secure it using Passport. So I can publish my busy information to that server. I can tell my husband and my nanny to publish their information there as well. And then if I want to go create a meeting request, like for a family kind of meeting, or invite everybody to the same event, why, right from my meeting planner, I just type in their SMTP addresses and I see their free busy, just as if I was sending it to someone inside of my corporation. That's one of my favorite new features. There's a question over here. Yes? It doesn't connect to the MSN calendar. It uses MSN. I think we're using, I think we partnered with the MSN Communities folks, and we're using some space on the MSN Communities servers to store that information. But that just means, they're giving us some space to store it in. But it doesn't share with MSN Calendar. That, however, is a good question. MSN Calendar with Outlook. And we don't, what you might want to do is to be able to synchronize your Outlook calendar with an MSN calendar. And we don't have support for that yet, although both our team and the MSN team have been talking about that, and they're working with a vendor right now to get calendar synchronization support. So that's something that I think we'll have in the next, let's say, roughly 6 months. Okay, and single reminders window. I hope I can show you that in a minute. Before I start demoing, there are a couple features that I couldn't demo, unfortunately, because the build that I'm using has some bugs in it, so it prevents these features from showing. But they're such good features that I needed to show you screenshots of them anyway. Let's talk about the group schedules feature. This gives you the capability to view multiple people's calendars at the same time in a meeting planner-like UI. And you create this new group schedule, you identify the people you want, then you can save it for retrieval later. So scenarios where that could be interesting. Let's say that you work in a department and you want to be able to see all of the members of that department's schedules all at once. Another common scenario might be that you have a set of meeting rooms that you might be able to create meetings in, and you want a quick and easy way to know which rooms are available at the time that you want. So you could create a group schedule that lists all of those meeting rooms and be able to retrieve that later. Because we actually created this feature based on our meeting planner, and because we did that, the enhancements that we needed appear both in the group schedule feature and in the meeting planner feature. And a couple of those enhancements are some hover behavior. So I can be, in the meeting planner is the place where you can see free busy information. So inside of the meeting planner, I can hover over any free busy block, and I can get if the person who I'm looking at has shared their calendar for me to read, I can see the details of that meeting just by hovering over it. I can also put the meeting planner into a mode to show the text on the grid, so I can see the details of the meeting right there, even without hovering. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so here's the hover over box that I was suggesting to you. So this person's that we're hovering over actually has is quadruple booked, 4 meetings all scheduled for the same time. So you can see the details of each one of those meetings. This is a group schedule that I'm showing you. So I've gone here, I've created this schedule. I should explain that the UI entry point for this is from the calendar module. So there's a new item on the toolbar in the calendar called schedules. And I click that, and it lets me create a new group schedule. And it brings up a little dialog that lets me create a new, or to see the list of all the schedules that I previously created and open up one of those. So you can imagine that I've gone schedules and clicked on the one that I wanted, and this is what popped up. Other things that I can do here in this group schedule dialog, if I click on this folder icon to the left, it will open up that person's calendar for me in a single window. So it's an easy way to see their calendar. And if I were to right-click on any of these, on any space inside of here, off of the right-click menu, I get an option to create a new meeting with all of these people. So it makes meeting scheduling much easier as well. So that's the group calendar feature.
Question about that.
Yes, I'm sorry?
Can you publish global group schedules? So as an administrator, you can make, say, all meeting groups, or the only client group schedule?
Right. Okay, so the question is, can you create and publish global group schedules, or can you only do it or can the client only create their own? There is a way to publish global group schedules, which is in a public folder calendar. So you create a public folder, a calendar type public folder, and then you create new schedules inside of that. And then you'd point users to go there and look at the schedule from there. We had an even handier way to do that, and unfortunately we had to scale back and get real and ship the product, so we didn't do it the super handy way, but there is a way to do it. Back there in the back?
Is there going to be any capability to print something like this? Maybe customers want to print that exact something like that?
Printing is something that you can't unfortunately right now print the meeting planner, and we looked at adding just general capability to print meeting planner plus group schedule, and it was not something that we could fit into this time frame. Certainly something that we're looking for the future. The way that you can do it, it's clunky but it will work, which is to take a screenshot of this and then put it into Word and print it from there. Okay? Question?
How many different Zooms are used?
Oh, okay. So you notice the zoom thing at the top. You can zoom out. Let's see. I don't remember how many presets there are, but I think you might even be able to specify your own, in terms of a %, and it will just let you keep zooming out. So you could zoom out so that you could see a month's worth of information at the same time, which is useful, but most useful if you turn the text off, because by the time you've got text in those teeny tiny grids, you can't read it. In the back?
Related to that previous question, do you have WYSIWYG printing of just what forms?
We didn't, here's what I can say, is we didn't we didn't do any printing enhancements in this release. So I don't know what, I'm not sure what printing capability we had in the past, but whatever we had in the past is what we'll have now.
I'm assuming to build your list of activities, your schedules, you add one set. Is there any way that like import say EL into that?
Oh, yes. Yes, so starting in Outlook 2000, we let you specify DLs in the meeting planner. So what you would do is you type in the DL, and there'll be a little plus next to it, and you click the plus to expand it, and then everyone gets added individually. So that was there before, and it just works for group schedules as well. Another question? Can you publish more than 12 months of free busy time? Yes, you can publish up to 36 months of free busy time. Oh, good, yeah. Yeah, that was something that we added this release. I didn't put it on my slides, but it sounds like I should for a future. One more question, and then I really better hustle on because there's more to cover, and we're... Any changes to resource scheduling? No, we haven't done anything there. It's something that we really would like to do. In fact, we had some interesting ideas, and we just didn't have time on the schedule. Okay, so group calendar, we got through that. Propose new meeting time. So this is another one of those really nice end user features, which is that if somebody sends you a meeting and the time that they suggested the meeting for doesn't work for you, there's a new button on the toolbar that is called Propose a New Time. So you pick that, and it opens up the meeting item showing everyone's calendars, and it lets you scroll through and find another time that looks like it works for everyone, and then you send it. And it goes back to the meeting originator, and they can accept it, which means that it just gets booked on both of your calendars, or they could continue on counter-proposing. But the especially nice thing on the originator side is that, let's say that I'm an admin, and I'm scheduling a meeting with 5 executives, and each one of them proposes a new different time. So I end up with 4 new counter-proposals. When I open up any one of those counter-proposals, I'll get into a form. Unfortunately, I don't have a screenshot of it for you, but I'll get into a form that shows me wow. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh. I'm calling again. All right. So it was off, but yeah, okay. Okay, so they bring up a form that shows all 4 of the counter proposals, and it lets them accept one of those and move on. Please let me do my demo. Okay. So I'm going to show you quickly one other calendaring feature, and so the scenario here is I'm a lawyer, and lawyers, oh, come on, it's not so bad. And lawyers are pretty controlling about their time. They like to spend it in certain ways, and in fact, they especially like to spend it making money by visiting clients or working on client things. So a lawyer is a type of client or customer who would be especially interested in this new calendar coloring feature. So you can see as I bring up the calendar why it's colorful, in fact. Yay, good. Oh, do you know what? Let's stop, because the reminder dialog came up, and this is so fun. I have to tell you about the unified reminder dialog. So, in the past, how you were gone for a week and you came back and no more. It's all in one dialog. We're adding. So right now, if I want, if I had 15 or 20 of these, I can select them all and dismiss them. We're actually adding a little drop down on this dismiss button, so it's even that much easier to just go dismiss all. I don't want any of these. Yeah, it's very good. So I can deal with my reminders right away. I can leave them around. Some people use the reminder list as basically a task list. So if I want to work with it that way, I can. So I can minimize this, and it'll just stay out of my way. Or I can close it without dismissing the items, but I can still get back to it easily from, from the view menu. Okay, so that's the reminder dialog. Okay, let's get through calendar coloring here. So I'm a lawyer, and I've got these items set up already. In fact, I went in and I identified labels to go with all of these colors. So if I'm meeting a client, because I'm trying to, this is a potential new client, why I label them as blue. If this is some personal time, it's green. If I'm doing some professional training, because lawyers kind of need to keep up on their knowledge of the industry in order to keep their license. And client, this is my favorite one, client billable. I like to mark items as this color. This list, the labels here. So I've set.
Okay, let me.
I've set these up.
Giving a presentation right now.
Me too.
Let me see if he's available.
So I can edit this list and I can customize them. I can put in other text next to any item, and I can also set up.
I'll give you a call back probably in half an hour. So I'll call you shortly after 3. Okay? Thanks, Frank.
Okay. I can set up rules so that if I categorize any like if I'm a person who categorizes appointments, so let's say like holidays. In fact, by default we have a category holidays for the holidays that we put in. I can use the current automatic formatting feature of Outlook and specify that any item with that a certain category automatically gets colored a certain color. So it's useful both manually and programmatically. Okay. So we've seen calendaring. Let's talk about Exchange 2000 integration. Yay! So how many of you have heard of this thing called the local web store? Lots of folks? Yeah. Local web store is very cool. It gives us much better offline support. That's the basic end user feature, and I'll show you that in a minute. And for administrators, it makes the over-the-wire and the server scalability really quite a bunch better. And I'll talk about that more later. We've also done, along with the Exchange 2000 integration, we've done some improvements with global catalogs. Some of you might know of some issues here with your customers. We did a QFE for Outlook 2000, and then we baked in that QFE and even done a few things better. Made better support for local GCs and for failover if your GC goes down. Let's see. Along with the local store, we have runtime support for web storage system applications, and I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on this. There is another presentation called Office Designer, which happened, I mentioned this to you already, which happens in room 11 at 4 o'clock, and they'll talk more about that. And the Exchange folks have got some sessions, I think, about web store applications. And we do have support in this release for multiple public folder hierarchies if you're using Exchange 2000. Okay, quick schema of the local web store. So here's Outlook, and with the local store in the profile, Outlook talks to the local store. And the local store checks to see if it has information in its local cache. And if it does, then it hands it back to Outlook. And if it doesn't, then it goes and talks to Exchange to say, hey, hand me that. So that's where this better scalability comes in, because once information gets downloaded once from Exchange into the local store, then Outlook is never hitting Exchange again for that. It's just pulling it from the local store. Which also means for the user, if the store goes down, but they have that information on their machine, they don't care. They just keep working away very happily. Okay, so some of the benefits here for especially for slow link users, information only gets downloaded once. If I read a message, it was a big message, it gets downloaded once. If I close it and reopen it, it comes from local. Where in today's world, once I've closed it and I want to look at it again, it goes back to the server, downloads it all again. Yuck. Question? What's that? No, Mappy's not dead, but You can come and talk to me later and we can talk more about that. But with the local store, we use HTTP over the wire. Okay, let's see. So other benefits, so only changed properties get uploaded. So if, for example, I have a meeting item and a reminder pops up for it and I dismiss the reminder, in the old world we would have used to send the entire calendar item back up again. And now we just send the fact that the reminder state changed back up. Open operations are asynchronous. So let's say I'm opening a mail message I'm opening an attachment to a mail message and the attachment is 2 megabytes. I can switch over, find another mail item to open and do other things while that's finishing up its demo. Okay, so we have better progress reporting. Roaming users, they can just unplug and go because the information is just getting synced up for them as they go along and work. And if they resync happens to fail, the information that was being downloaded is already there. So if they have to start resyncing again, they start from where they left off. Really the big win here, though, is for one of the biggest wins is for desktop users, which is what most of our customers are. And for those users, even if they don't go on slow links or they don't have a laptop, if the server goes down, they can keep working. That's a big benefit. Okay, I'm going to skip through the Exchange administrators. We've kind of talked through that. The local store can be used as a PST replacement. So if you want to store files locally, like how you might use the PST to archive information to, you can use the local store instead. It has Unicode support, so that's one way that it's better. And it also, the size limit increases. In the PST, you're limited to 2 gigabytes, and with the local store, it's either 16 or 64 terabytes. God help you if you have that much mail hanging around. Okay, a couple questions back here.
Back to the offline viewing. If you preview message in the preview game, is that message already on the local?
Yes. Yep. Once it's brought down for the preview pane, it's brought down locally. Another question?
Yeah, what happens if you have multiple machines outlook on each of them? You have a local web store on each of them, and what happens with replication down?
You do have a local store on each one of them, and they just behave independently of each other. So let's say you've got a machine where you've got lots of. Oh, okay. Thank you. The question was, what happens if you have multiple machines that you're using to read your email? And my answer was, well, the local stores behave independently. So if on the one machine I've cached lots of data locally, that's great. On the other machine, I kind of start from scratch. The information just gets cached as I use it on that machine. But there's no need for those local stores to try to sync with each other. The Exchange server keeps them in sync. You know what? I'm gonna cut you all off. I'm so sorry, because I need to talk about security in here somewhere too, because I think some of you are interested in that, and we're starting to run low on time. I will still try to leave time for questions at the end, so I hope I can grab some more of those then. Okay, the demo part of this. Let's close out of Outlook. Yeah. Here I go into a local store profile. This won't hurt a bit, I promise. Ta-da! There we are. So I know that I'm using the local store because if I go to Tools Email Accounts and look at the account, it says Exchange HTTP. So that's my clue that the local store is there, is because we're talking to Exchange over HTTP DAV protocol. And to set this up when you're setting up your email server, there's this little checkbox down here called Use HTTP to connect. And that's the thing that kicks in the local store. Okay, now, for the really fun part, you ready? I'm going to unplug the network. Okay, here it is. Look, tells me it's not there. No hands. Look, I can still see information. That's not, Outlook 2000 could do that, so it's not so cool yet. Let's try switching folders. Woohoo! Look. It didn't hang. I didn't get that error message that, I didn't try to go find the server. I just did it. So Now, these are items that I've seen before, so they're there. Here I've hit upon one that I haven't read in the past, so it's not brought down locally. So it doesn't show up in the local store. If I try to open it, it gives me a prompt. It says that I'm working offline and it's not there. So that's not so bad. It still lets me go on and do my thing. I can create new messages, and I can send them. Oh, I don't have this one set up. And it lets me send. It's a bug. It will let me send. I promise it will. So let's cancel it. Okay. So that's the default behavior. I'm going to. So that by default, we don't automatically synchronize things like your inbox. But you can, if you are a roaming user, you probably want to set it up so that it's in the background, synchronizing everything in your inbox, so you don't end up with a mix mash of things that are there and some that aren't. And the way that you would do that is from Tools. Oops, wrong place.
Just a quick question while you're doing that.
Yes.
Have you integrated synchronization with Windows 2000 Sync Manager?
I don't believe we have. I don't recall hearing that. Oh dear. That's feedback I should take back, I hear. Okay. So if I wanted to set it up so that it was constantly keeping certain folders updated, then I would go edit this. I would mark the folders that I want updated all the time. Let's say those 3. Say OK. I would schedule an update for, let's say, every 5 minutes. And I can, in fact, in addition to that, say that when Outlook is offline, to go check every so often and do an update. So what this is interesting for is if I'm working remotely, I can bring down all the new information, and Outlook will connect, get the information, and then disconnect. And then 30 minutes later, it will just initiate on its own, connecting, getting new information, and disconnecting again. OK, there we go with offline features. OK, let's talk about security. So the Outlook team released a security patch for Outlook 98 and for Outlook 2000. This was out on the, oh, please. This was out on the web several months ago. We have made enhancements in Outlook 10 to address a number of the common issues. Let's see, where should I start with this? So viruses, huge issue both for individuals and for corporations. And we have, in the past, we've made a couple of attempts to try to prevent the spread of viruses. In Outlook 2000 SR1, we made it so that when you tried to open attachments, if they were of a file type that was potentially a virus, then we forced you to save it to the disk instead of just opening it automatically. When the LoveBug virus came out, we watched internally what happened. And what we found is that because we can see which Outlook client sends a mail message, so it's easy to tell if you receive a virus, who sent it to you and what client they were using. And what we found is that many of those LoveBug virus messages were still being sent by people even who had Outlook 2000 SR1. So that level of security seemed to be not enough. So, but let me step back. So there are about 120 million Office installations. There are about 60% of those or like 120 million Office licenses. About 60% of those about 60% of the Office customers deploy Outlook. So that's roughly like 70 million Outlook customers. So all of those users, every Outlook user is susceptible to viruses in 2 ways. Either by reading a message and opening attachment, or simply because they have Outlook on their machine, they're susceptible to some rogue application getting in, reading their address book, and then self-propagating using our object model. It's like a big, wide open hey, you want to spread a virus? Use Outlook. It's a great way to do it. It's, tons of people have it, and it just leaves the door open. So we'd attempted to not close the door for quite a while. We said, we've got so many application developers out there, and we just can't not allow their object model to run. And with the bout of viruses that came around the time of the love bug virus, we said we're going to change our basic assumption. And instead of optimizing for developers, we're going to optimize for basic customers. This is a hard thing. It's really hard. It's hard for me personally. I know that you all hear from customers that they don't like some of the things that we've done. We had a dam that had, or a dike that had holes in it that was leaky, and we didn't have any good way to stop it. And so what we've done is we've basically built a new dam, and we've put a spillway in it, and we've said anyone who has the right keys can get access to the spillway controls, and then they can let people access the object model again. So anyway, that's kind of that's the why did we do something, and why is it harsh, I guess, would seem like a word that maybe, I've been in several customer calls, and words they use are, it was forced on us, it feels like it's, it's a knee-jerk reaction. Well, it's, how can I say this? In order to prevent the spread of viruses for the basic user, it's the level that we had to go to. Okay. So for the basic user, they don't have any administrator. They don't, for the folks who have POP accounts or who are in small businesses, they don't have anyone who might do the things that many large corporations do, which is that they set up their own levels of security. So inside of a large corporation, they might have ways of cutting off attachments at the firewall into their organization. But individual users don't have that. So we optimized for the individual user. But for those corporations who have their own security measures, we provided a way for administrators to back out of the security that we put in by default. As we did that, we knew that we needed to implement it in a way that would work across all clients, because many corporations don't have a consistent client OS installation across their organization. So we couldn't rely on Windows 2000. We couldn't rely on policies and things being pushed to user systems. So the way that we had to do it that was a consistent implementation was the public folder, the Exchange public folder method. So what we do is we allow administrators to set up a public folder. It has a certain name. And when they have that public folder set up, they can specify inside of that public folder, they can put a form inside of that public folder that specifies which of the Outlook security measures that they want. Let's see. I've really not been looking at my slides. I'm going to show you a couple of the security measures, and then I'll come back to this discussion of what admins can turn off. All right. So there are two basic security measures that we implemented with the patch. One is attachment opening prevention. So what happens is that when a user tries to attach an item that is one of those non-secure items, like an executable file, like a VBS script or a VBX, or there's a list of about, it's here, 38 file types that are things that can carry viruses. So if a user tries to attach those in their mail, we'll give them a warning that says that those items won't be able to be, may not be able to be opened by the end user, by the person they're sending it to. And on the, so this is the this top one is the warning that they get when you try to send one of those things as an attachment. On the other side, with our security measures, if you receive an attachment that is one of those file types, we block it. We prevent you from being able to open it, and what you get is this little note that says, there is an attachment here, but it's not something that you can access because it's potentially unsafe. Okay, so that's the attachment warning, and then, or the attachment side. The other security measure that we implemented is the object model guard. And what this is that if there's some application trying to automate Outlook by using certain object model properties or accessing certain object model properties, we put up a prompt so that the user knows that something is trying to access it. And those specific object models that we're concerned about are the send command, which is what viruses will use to send new mail, and also any command that lets a user gather email addresses. So, for example, if using the object models, the program is trying to read either the to field or the from field, or go in or open a contact item and read the email name of the contact item, or go into the address book and read email names from the address book. Any of those properties we put up prompts for. The reason that we put up prompts for those is that that's a way that a virus can go gather names to self-propagate itself. So those are the things that we block. And the way we block those is by, well, we don't block them completely. We just put up prompts so that the user knows that it's happening. And here are the prompts that come up. For these, specifically the prompt for looking at email addresses, we do allow the user to override the prompt. And the way we do that is that they can specify how long they want to leave the door open for. And the case that's interesting for this is for applications that sync with Outlook. So let's say I have a Palm device, and I've entered a bunch of names in that Palm device, in the contact list of that Palm device. But beyond just entering names, I entered email addresses. Because that's the only case where the prompt comes up, is if the Palm device is trying to sync up email addresses with Outlook. So I've entered those in my Palm device, and then I try to sync. And now what happens is when the syncing is going on, Outlook will put up the prompt. Now, if I've happened to enter 15 contact names with email addresses in the Palm, I don't want 15 prompts on the Outlook side. So by setting this to something like 3 minutes, I could get one prompt and then set it long enough so that I don't see any of them again after that.
What happens if you're syncing remotely via dial-up?
What's that?
What happens if you sync remotely via dial-up?
What happens if you sync remotely via dial-up? If you're accessing the Outlook object model, the same thing would occur. I think maybe we should talk later after that. Okay. All right. So those are the two security measures that we put into place. We allow those to be completely administered by corporations by using this public folder override. So corporations can completely turn off all of our security features if they want to, because they're relying on something else inside of their organization, by setting up a public folder tree, by putting one item in there that sets the default level for all of their users, and by deploying that. I could go into details about how to deploy that, but we're running low on time. So overriding it is actually fairly simple. I'm going to go. The one other thing that I should tell you is that, so in addition to allowing corporations to override it, the other enhancement that we've made in Outlook 10 is that we will allow administrators to identify applications that are trusted. So also inside of that public folder, they'll be able to specify certain applications that are trusted, and then their users can use any of those applications, like the Palm Sync utility, and they'll never get the guards for those because those are known. Excuse me. Okay. What else should I tell you about security? I think that's all. There's probably more. I know you have questions. I know customers have questions. Here's the other thing I wanted to tell you. Microsoft ITG is deploying the Outlook 2000 security patch in this month. They're this GC rollover QFE that we talked about earlier. Along with deploying that, they're deploying the security patch. Initially, they're going to use this public folder implementation that I told you about, and they're actually going to turn off a number of the security measures so that people aren't impacted by those. Okay. I hear an opinion expressed. They are also, with with the beta 2 of Outlook 10, they will, they'll also be using the security measures because they're baked into Outlook 10. And there, they're actually not they're planning to accept the default behaviors. Anyway, we won't go into detail. I know this is hard. Any of you that need to, come and find me afterward, and we'll talk more about that. Okay. It's basically the same. It is basically the same. The warnings are the same. The tooltips are the same. So yes, the functionality is the same. Okay. Couple other quick things. It's almost time to go. We added support for Unicode for a bunch more things than we had in the past. We'll leave that as is. Mac Outlook Watson release. We've got a new release of Mac Outlook that's coming out. Timing hasn't been announced. It'll probably be roughly the same time as the Windows version, a little later. One of the biggest concerns that we hear from clients who have cross-platform clients in their organization is that they want calendar and contact interoperability on the Mac client. And so that's exactly what we're putting into the Mac Outlook Watson release. So here are a couple of screenshots of it. It's a pretty release. We've done the same colors as the iMacs, and in fact, you can change your color scheme to match with the iMac color schemes, peach and blueberry and whatever else. But here's the thing that customers really want is they want their calendar to appear inside of the Outlook client, and we've done that. Okay, wow, we covered a lot. I really cut it right to the last minute. We've got about 2 minutes. I can answer a couple of more questions. I'll try to catch some of you afterward. I do have another session at 5:10, and if you wanted to come around after that, I could answer more too. Thank you very much. Right here? So the question was about international and characters and address book names. Do we support? Oh, I don't know. Right. I'm pretty sure that we Unicode enabled it. Is that something that's available, like for SMTP addresses? Is that something that's supported by the? Come and talk with me. Okay. I'm going to take my mic off now, and I'll just answer questions.